Welcome, Solarah here with another blackout message for you. I hope you're doing well as I record this. It is Sunday, May the 5th, so we are in the 5-5 portal. If you listen to the last blackout message, you will know that I am presently doing these blackout messages mainly for downloads as they come in. It makes my life a little bit easier, as well as it stops these distractions of noise that were happening from really being able to run my reality when it comes to sharing with the collective. So I actually really like this format. I used to do it at the beginning of my channel, and I had a kind soul remind me last summer that I should consider it, and here I am doing it now. So welcome if you are visiting for the first time. Welcome if you're a newer subscriber. Welcome if you're visiting, you're subscribing, you're listening. You've been here from day one, or you've joined somewhere along the way. Welcome. My disclaimer before I get into any message is that I am not for everyone. So if for any reason you don't like me or you feel resistance in your soul against what it is I'm saying, then please, don't feel bad. It's all right. But please go and find the beings where you are really in full resonance for your own sake, as well as for the sake of the collective, meaning that the whole point of what we're doing right now is coming back into harmony with self. And as such, we are seeking energies, situations, beings that either activate or enhance our own sense of internal peace. And so when we experience resistance, when we're dealing with someone, if we don't like them, if we think we're better than them, whatever reason why we would be resistant to receiving what it is they have to say or to share, we're actually putting ourselves in a state of conflict unless we're going to do the shadow work, if that's necessary to figure out why we feel that way to begin with. Which is, it's always an invitation when we feel that sense of resistance to do that, but you don't have to do that either. You can just be content not liking me or being resistant to what it is I have to say, and then go and find a person, a channel where you don't feel that way, and you therefore are promoting your own sense of peace and harmony, which actually is a beautiful thing, because that's what you're then giving out to the earth. So I don't have time to argue with people in comments trying to convince me of things that I don't need convincing of. I'm not trying to convince anyone else of what to believe in, so please don't bring that shit to me. If you don't like me or you don't agree, just keep it moving in love and in kindness and in respect, okay? Because I have full respect for your beliefs and your ability to maintain your sense of internal peace too, okay? Now, the download that was coming through was, you are redeeming the time. You are redeeming the time. One more time. You are redeeming the time. And as I was channeling this was coming through, I think, on Thursday night. And then I started to hear the words Ezekiel's wheel. And I don't know, I should have gone into the story and refreshed my memory, but I believe it was Ezekiel in the Bible who saw the wheel, and he is one of the few representations in what they call the Bible, which has been torn apart and put together for purposes of controlling narratives as opposed to displaying full truth, and yet there's still things to be gleaned. There's still truth there for our souls to connect with. But I believe Ezekiel was one of the few characters within that text who left the earth, but not through death. So he just ascended his way out of there. He saw the wheel, he jumped on it, and he was gone. He was transcended, right? And why is this important? Well, for a few reasons, but one reason could very well be because we are not designed to have to leave the earth through the portal of death, destruction, dysfunction, and dis-ease. That was not the original design for the earth and how we would come here and experience ourselves. We were designed to be fully connected cosmologically to all of the resources that are necessary to keep us completely wizened about our own energy fields and our bodies, in order that when it comes time, when our souls have actually learned and accrued the lessons that we wanted to accrue, that we can leave and go to the next space. We don't have to die. You know, we leave the body we've borrowed, that's been lent to us for us to be here. We leave it because it's part of this dimension, but we don't. Our spirits don't leave by way of the body dying. That was, in my opinion, from what I've been shown, that was one of the main ways that the Matrix kept karmic cycles and loops going, and on a soul level. So meaning that many of you have heard how we've been trapped here, being recycled. Our souls have been trapped. We haven't, even when we die, many haven't been able to escape. And the reason for that is it's a frequential thing. Everything is frequency. If you die in a certain state, you stay stuck in the realm or within the energy that supports that frequency. So in other words, if you die because you're sick, you're diseased, if you die from extreme trauma, you die because you take yourself out because of the sadness from the trauma cycles. That is dying or leaving your body in a very, very low frequency, and you can't travel beyond that, which keeps you stuck in the matrix, right? Okay, now this message says you are redeeming the time, Ezekiel's wheel. So what was also coming through is that you've been getting back your true circadian internal clock settings, or you've been getting back your true circadian settings, or your true internal clock settings. What does that mean? Well, we have what we call a body clock, right? And then there's a body clock within a body clock within a body clock, right? And this is kind of what is being illustrated to me also with Ezekiel and his wheel, because if any of you know the story, the wheel that Ezekiel jumped into, it was a wheel of fire, but it appeared like there was a wheel within a wheel within a wheel within a wheel within a wheel. Okay, which is emblematic of the fact that Ezekiel was breaking out of the time-space vortex or constraints of the matrix that had him stuck, going through cycles and cycles and cycles. But what my guides were also showing me is, and I don't know how to explain this because it's a little bit lofty, right? It's like, because we are connected not only to the earth, we're connected to all things. We're connected on all planes. We're connected to all dimensions. We're connected to every planet, constellation, everything that has life and existence is interconnected, even if it's by multiple degrees of separation, even if it's by many waters. And I say waters because water is the connecting force. It's what keeps us connected to all things. Right? The water in the atmosphere, for example. Water is how we travel psychically. It's how we are able to draw ourselves into another dimension in a more concentrated way. It's through the waters. It's through our emotions. It's through our psychic sensibilities and our intuition, and the remembrance sometimes that is also locked within our own cells and DNA. That's all water-based. Okay, so everything is connected and separated by the waters. But even yet, we are still all connected to everything that exists. And why is this important? Because in accordance with your own cosmological blueprint or your energy signature and who you are, you have different clocks or different things that connect you cyclically to other things. Okay, so for example, a person who has their Mercury in Virgo, for example. That would be you have astrologically the planet that connects you with all information chilling in the sign that it rules, astrologically speaking, and you have it sitting like that in your chart. And that shows me, if I were to be reading your chart to give you your information about who you are cosmologically, etc., your tarot astrology, then that would show me that you have access to this mercurial energy. You have access to this Virgoan energy more so than a person who doesn't have Mercury in Virgo. What does that mean? Well, for one thing, it means that you are here to bring an order out of vastness, and you do it really well because of what your individual waters are connected to on a higher level. So we all have the ability to do it, but not as well as you. You get what I'm saying? If this is you. And this is why all of us are so unique, and our personal birth charts, our astrology works as a way to hone in on what we're connected to on a higher level that helps us to accomplish not only our individual soul purpose, but what it was we were sent here to do on the earth planes at this time also. So I hope that makes sense. So all of us have clock settings that put us in alignment with one another. And that would be based upon some of our biological functioning. So for example, all of us have a function where when our body clocks are working properly, as soon as the sun begins to set, our melatonin levels start to rise and our cortisol levels start to drop, right? And then all of us have the same setting where if our body clocks are in balance in accordance with our health, our habits, and our own sense of equilibrium, then as the sun rises, the melatonin levels drop and cortisol levels rise. So that's one example of a collective energy we share that is on a clock, right? Not a traditional clock like the one on the wall, but it's attuned to the cycles of the rising and setting sun. We are, in other words, attuned to different cycles in accordance with just being alive, but also in accordance with who we are individually and cosmologically. And I hope you're still with me here, because this is really important when it comes to figuring out how and why the false matrix wanted us programmed into schedules and routines where we were herding together like sheep and doing everything the same. And even if we weren't doing everything exactly the same, what was being promoted was that this is the way that you live for success. This is the way you live to thrive, when really it was, this is the way we must program you into thinking you're thriving, when really what we're doing is we're programming you out of all of your personal internal clocks, your personal circadian cycles, because for as long as we can tune you out of them, then we can keep you stuck, energetically speaking. We can keep you from evolving. We can keep you from doing what it is you came here to do. We can keep you from even being aware of who you are, because you are following a program we've set for you, which already puts you at a disadvantage to access the true programs that you're supposed to be setting for yourself. I hope I'm making sense to who I need to be making sense to today. Okay, so we are not supposed to be tuned into programs and schedules externally. I'm going to say that again. We are not supposed to be tuned into programs and schedules externally. I'm going to say it one more time again. We are not supposed to be tuned into programs and schedules externally. What does that mean? We are not to look to anything or anybody outside of ourselves and our truth to tell us what it is we need in order to thrive in accordance with who we are. Now, there are some, like I said, there are some clocks that we are tuned into on a collective level, and we need to be aware of this for the proper maintenance of our own health, vitality, and functioning. This is true. But we also have to maintain that sense and knowing that we also have very individual and unique internal clock settings that we also must honor and abide by. And also that when we are walking in one accord with self, we are automatically walking in one accord with the collective, with the more collective clocks. So when we are walking in one accord with self, we are automatically in accord with, for example, the rising and the setting of the sun and what it's here to do for us mentally, emotionally, and physically, because it works on all planes. When the sun rises, yes, there's something that happens in terms of your own hormonal levels that the sun sets off in order to keep your body balanced. But exposure to the sun also, when it rises, also increases your sense of mental and emotional well-being. We have always been intimately connected with every cycle that exists naturally and organically on the earth and in the universe. And what the false matrix did, which also created orphanhood, abandonment, neglect, rejection that we felt on a soul level, and we didn't get why. What the false matrix did was it disconnected us from the ability to connect with all of the intricacies of these natural settings and cycles that promote our wholeness and infinite truth. So we are not supposed to be tuned into programs and schedules externally. This messes with our ability to tune ourselves properly to the earth. This messes with our ability to attune ourselves properly in the earth. I'm going to say it one more time. When we are tuned into programs and schedules externally by other forces, beings, initiatives, agendas, we are messing with our ability to properly tune and attune ourselves to the earth. And why is this important? It's important because when you don't tune and attune yourself properly to the earth, you cannot connect fully to your purpose. You cannot walk out your purpose. You cannot be who you are. Your soul will be in debt, in other words. And if your soul is in debt, then you're opening doors to suffering. And that's what they knew they were doing in the false matrix, which is why they had us in these schedules that they promoted for everyone as being how it is we're supposed to live. And if you cannot rise into the position of maintaining these schedules that may be fine for some, but they're not fine for all, then there's something inherently wrong with you. It's not the schedule that's the problem, it's you that's the problem, right? Which is another way to further get you to reject yourself and to feel bad and to fall into shame, which also produces its own cycle, which shame and staying in lower vibrational realities, emotional realities, produces cycles too, produces clocks. And their clocks are clocks that are shorter in duration, but they're easier to cycle through. I hope whoever this message is for, you're getting what I'm saying, because the point of this is that if you can get a person locked in a shame cycle because a shame cycle is connected to a clock setting that moves faster, then putting a person in shame settings actually shortens their lifespan. Putting a person in a shame cycle shortens their lifespan. Putting a person into a shame cycle shortens their lifespan. And I'm saying shame very specifically because shame is the lowest emotion on the vibrational scale. And if they can get us stuck, ashamed of ourselves, ashamed of our inability to do what it is they said we're supposed to do in order to belong or to be successful, if they can get us stuck in that energy, which everything in the Matrix agendas was designed to keep us ashamed, down to social media, the comparison games, the raising some beings on pedestals and paying some people a lot more for doing nothing while paying nothing to beings who do the hard work of keeping everything in order. That was all supposed to set up varying shame narratives that produced untimely death and destruction, so that we were constantly dying young and we were dying in a lower frequency, so we'd be stuck. I hope this is making sense. Okay, so in other words, whatever clock setting you're choosing to attune yourself to, whether it's the true clock settings that match your internal truth or your cosmological truth, who you are as a divine and high frequency being in your power, or whether it is the clocks that you are tuning your own energy field into by way of external programming and all of the trauma and the karma that you then had to experience because you were tuned into those settings. Whatever settings you're tuned into, whatever you allow your internal clock settings to be tuned into, it's going to produce a matching and corresponding reality. And not only for you as an individual, but also on the earth. You see, you and I are so interconnected with the cycles of the earth that our inability to come here and rise into our soul purpose hurts our earth. I'm going to say that again. We are so interconnected to the earth and her cycles that our inability to access our soul's purpose and to live in ways that harmonize us in truth and therefore gives us access to our true divine power, our inability to do that doesn't only harm us, it harms the earth. And when we harm the earth, we harm every living structure that exists on the earth, including one another, the animals, the minerals, all the resources that have been given to us in order for us to not only enjoy, but to look after and to prosper and grow. And we can only really do that in truth when we are connected to ourselves, because by connecting to ourselves, we're actually reconnecting properly to the earth in the way that we were designed to in order to promote her health and well-being too. So what I have here is when we're not supposed to be tuned into program schedules and schedules externally, because this messes with our ability to tune ourselves properly to the earth in accordance with our individual energy signatures, the properties they hold, and what we're actually here to do in partnership with Terra or the earth. Okay, so every energy signature and cosmological identity, when we are embodying the truth of it, is actually activating certain functions within the earth planes that are needed to keep her in harmony too. Okay, and it goes many ways. So when you are also walking in accordance with the fullness of your energy signature and cosmological truth, you're also working in partnership with the energies that you're highly connected to. So if I go back to that example of the person who has Mercury in Virgo, when they are walking in the fullness of who they are actually embodying the ability for the earth to receive the information it needs to keep its resources in proper order and properly distributed to the right beings who have the frequential level to oversee the proper handling of her resources. But if that person who has a Mercury in Virgo is not actually in alignment with their own energy signature and cosmological identity, then what can happen is that it can open them up for other beings to mess with the universal or the collective energy that is within the earth to help maintain that sense of balance and fairness in the distribution and the care of her resources. Do you see where I'm going with this? The false matrix was kept together energetically in its deception by way of the tinkering of the settings of everything, including you, the planets, the earth herself. Okay? So, for example, they utilize the power of Saturnian magic because Saturnian energy can put up barriers and resistance. So they use that instead of for protecting us, which is the true nature of Saturn, is to put up the barriers and the guards so that we are protected and we're not going where we're not ready yet to go, and other energies aren't entering where they have no business entering. That's the true divine nature, ascended nature of Saturnian energy. But what they did instead was to exploit the fact that Saturn can do that to restrict and imprison us. But that would have never been possible if all beings who, have very powerful Saturnian energy that connects them to the order of the cosmos, and they're here to stream it back onto the earth planes. It would have never been possible for these architects of the false matrix to continue doing that if those beings came back online and into correct alignment and order and reconnected with the internal clock settings that they needed to connect with in order to come back into the power of the connection they have with Saturn. As long as they weren't in that state of power, they therefore became energy harvestable for the access they had to those planets based upon their cosmological truth. So in other words, let's say a person has Saturn in Libra. And this is a collective energy because Saturn in Libra, this will be many, many beings, because when Saturn enters into a sign, it stays there for a while. So in other words, Saturn in Libra, Saturn would have stayed in Libra maybe for, I think it's like a year or 2 years. Saturn stays in the zodiac sign, I think, like a year and a half to 2 years, I think, because Saturn, I think, takes about 27 to 28 years to go through every sign of the zodiac, right? So maybe even more than 2 years. Yeah. But either way, anyone who was born within that 2-year stretch when Saturn was in Libra has this ability in different ways, because again, how they express that through the degree is also very important, as well as other planetary arrangements in their charts. But the collective energy of beings who have their Saturn in Libra, it's because they're here to bring back some kind of order. And very specifically when it comes to reuniting the mental and the emotional planes and how we connect to that energy collectively. So for as long as those beings, and there's a lot of them, right, born within a 2 to 3 year span, are not in that power, then what the false matrix was doing was tapping into their resources, their ability to do that, and rediverting that energy for themselves, or rediverting those resources or that wisdom in order to use it against them specifically, but also against the planet and its inhabitants. This is why, one of the many reasons why the false matrix wanted all of us unaware of who we really are, unable to connect to our unique and individual soul print or divine cosmological blueprint, however you want to look at it. It had to have us constantly following external programs in order to keep us out of this alignment. And it also had to have us doing that because it knew that it would produce trauma on all levels, but especially on a soul level. And when we are not living in alignment with the truth of our souls, the natural mechanism our soul does to get us back into alignment with that truth is open a karmic lesson, because we were not designed to suffer. And so it was Source's love for us in the experiencing of ourselves in bodily form, the mechanism we have within our own souls is that in order that we know we're going the wrong way, we have a lesson that opens a door to suffering because that's not what is meant for us. So in other words, if we're experiencing suffering, then we know instantly we're on the wrong track. That's how it was originally designed. But that was used against us. And then we were constantly, quote unquote, educated / programmed into following external wisdom instead of tuning into the guidance of our own souls. For that very reason, because it knew, the architects of the false matrix knew that it would keep us opening doors to our own suffering and destruction, thinking that we were going somewhere that we weren't, based upon the fucked up directions they were giving us. Everything was designed to keep us running around in circles. Everything's circles, concentric cycles, wheels. All energies are worked through that, through a circle, a cycle, a wheel within a wheel. That's just the basis of all energy, whether you're utilizing it nefariously or properly. So you can use a cycle you can use a wheel to rise into the next cycle. Everything's cyclical, or you can have the wheel, or you can keep on going around the wheel and never stopping, or getting on another wheel that's exactly the same because you're not learning the lessons because you've been, for one thing, purposely blinded. And then for another thing, there are many beings that just don't want to take the responsibility it takes to get off the wheel that they're riding on. But there are many wheels to jump onto. But there's a perfect wheel for you. A wheel that connects you to your true circadian and internal clock settings. And once you find that wheel and you jump on that wheel, and off of the many wheels that you've been programmed and tuned into, indirectly, unconsciously, wrongfully, however you want to look at it, once you step back into your own proper internal clock settings and you connect with the true wheels that you're supposed to experience in accordance with your soul purpose and truth, then you begin to not only shift your own reality and learn how to bring back the fullness of your power, resources, gifts, and talents on the earth planes, but you begin to do that. You begin to resettle the earth into harmony too, as well as every other being that is connected, every other organic life form that is a part of her, humans, animals, plants, minerals, etc. So that's a very, very dense message, I know. Ezekiel's wheel, you are redeeming the time. But you're redeeming the time by getting back your true circadian and internal clock settings that connect you properly with the grids and the resources that those grid lines bring in for you based upon who you are and what you have access to. And again, who you are and what you have access to, it is expressed in your astrology, but it's deeper than that, because it's also about the personal choices that you make to actually either connect with that energy and to magnify it in your reality, or to stay on wheels that you're not supposed to be on. Okay, because there are many, many wheels that are constantly circling and cycling in this experience, right? So at the beginning, I said, I made my disclaimer: if you don't like me, then keep it moving. Why am I saying that? Because if you have resistance in your soul towards me, it means that you're on the wrong wheel. You're trying to get on a wheel that's opening you up to suffering, which just shows you, that you're not in alignment. It doesn't even have to be about anything personal. Not every person that we don't like is bad or has a secret agenda against us. Sometimes they're just not aligned. They're on the wrong wheel. You get what I'm saying? And it's time for us all to get back onto the right wheel, because our being on the right wheel is incumbent upon the earth coming back into the harmony that it needs for us to see these new earth visions that we've been speaking about. This is why it's so important. This is exactly why. Because the new earth, as we've seen it, can only be connected to when we are in harmony with self and connected and walking in our soul's purpose. And again, the new earth, people are already in the new earth. This isn't something that is materially necessarily here yet. It will be materialized as more beings come back into true harmony with themselves. But frequentially speaking, many beings are living in the new earth right now. What does that mean? Well, as individual beings, we can all be going through a collective experience and all experiencing things very differently. So, for example, as the matrix collapses, the beings who are farthest away from their truth, from their soul's purpose, the ones who are still in denial and lying to themselves and on wheels and circles of time that are not for them, they are the ones who are going to feel it the most. But those of us, we're all going through the same thing with them. And even some of many of the false matrix things that we've come to rely on are crumbling in our own realities. And yet we have peace. Yet we have joy. Yet we're still okay. We're feeling better than we've ever felt before. We might even have attacks going on still, but because we know who we are, we're cool. We might have health issues and financial issues, but because we know who we are, we're good. We know where this thing is headed, and we're directing the energy for the highest and greatest good, not only of our own souls, but on the collective soul of Terra or Gaia, however you want to see her. Some people see Terra and Gaia as two different energies, but they're not. They're very united. They're different representations of the same energy, kind of like, I have a funny side, but I also have a really serious side. It's kind of like that, how I see it. You don't have to agree with me. In the same way, I don't see any of the female deities as being anything but fragments of the Divine Mother. And when they all come together within us and we accept their role in all of us, then we reconnect to the wholeness of the Divine Mother and her purpose and plan for us. That's how I see it. Again, you don't have to agree. That's how I see it, and that's how I've been shown. I'm not here to fragment and further divide and separate. Whenever you see energies that are designed or beings that are constantly trying to divide and separate and fragment instead of properly organize and regulate, then you know those beings are still living in false matrix agendas. And what do I mean by that? People who still want to point the finger at certain energies as being good or bad instead of just being what they are people who are still trapped in duality consciousness. And duality consciousness is a program of the matrix designed to keep us dealing with the polarities of energy as if they're not one and the same. Everything is one. You just have to figure out how to maintain that sense of oneness and equilibrium within yourself while realizing that someone else's oneness and equilibrium is going to be different, but it doesn't make them good or bad or you better. It just is what it is. And I know that that's a big, big thing I just threw out there. But to the beings who this is here to, who are here to vibe with these truths, you're getting what I'm saying. And that's where I am right now. If you're not getting what I'm saying, either it's not for you or you need to give yourself a little bit of time. If you're feeling what I'm saying, but you're not fully getting it, because that's the power of an activation and a transmission also, is that the words will make sense for some of you on a mental level, but it's doing a deeper thing on a soul level. It's helping you to remember the truths within yourself. Because that's the true point of messages like this. They're not here for entertainment. They're not here to stroke the ego. They're here to activate you back into truth. And some beings don't actually want to live in certain levels of truth. And that's fine too. Everyone has a journey to be on. So you'll know by the way that you feel if you're in the right place and the right frequency. And even if you want to be in the frequency that you're feeling uncomfortable in, you can reach that if that's the desire of your soul. You know, you have to make some adjustments to be comfortable in it, but it's okay. Anyway, I'm going to end here with this message. I'm sending you so much love. I will be back later, probably not today, but I will be back another time with more blackout messages, more downloads. And when I'm ready to do like a proper reading with cards and everything, then I will sit down and probably do a video. But like I was sharing before, I'm liking the format of these blackout messages because it means I can just do them on the fly, and I can lock myself in my bathroom when these noises everywhere want to bring interference and try to stop and block and make me feel as if I don't have... I have to wait on them. I'm not waiting on these false matrix programs and energies anymore. I'm not giving them any kind of respect in my timetable and schedule, or in my in the wheel that I'm riding. So if this is what we're going to do for now, this is what we're going to do for now. So anyway, for all information on how to work with me, if you're interested in booking a one-to-one soul recovery or a tarot astrology or divine alignment reading, you can find out all information on my website, solarah.info. All information for joining me for the group tarot astrology Q&A for the month of May, as well as my Road Back to Recovery small group sessions. That information will be available to those of you who are on Ko-Fi. I will put a note up when I have restocked those classes for the month of May, or those meetings rather for the month of May. And I will, of course, here for those of you on YouTube, put it on the community board also. Okay, for those of you who are interested in joining me over on Substack, you can do so through the link I'm posting in the description box and comment section below. Over on Substack, I write something called Daily or Weekend Alchemy. I put those messages out about 3 to 4 times a week, but I also am quite active there. I post 5 to 6 days a week, sometimes fiction. Well, no, I haven't put any fiction up there yet. I'm sorry. Sometimes like non-fiction or my own reflections on what's going on, or on family abuse. And I write from a very personal, vulnerable standpoint about my own experience with these energies, as well as poetry, sometimes recorded messages for weekly energies, as well as what's going on at that time. So my Substack patrons, monthly and annual patrons, also get to meet with me every month for just a check-in and a Q&A to see what's going on with everyone on their own ascension journey. It's a wonderful time of fellowship where people can seek guidance from me, but even more importantly, we can come together and learn from each other and what we're all going through, and empower one another. So that's also a feature through my Substack subscription. And even if you didn't want to join for the regular post, that in and of itself alone, that monthly group Q&A is worth the price of subscription. So if you're interested in having that regular connection and group, you can do so through becoming a monthly or an annual subscriber on my Substack, which also gives you access to priority booking for soul recovery one-to-one sessions, as well as a 10% discount on all soul recovery sessions, 60 or 90 minutes. So that's my spiel. I'm sending you guys so much love. I wish you a beautiful 558 portal. And I will be back again soon. Until next time, take care.